Hello, Radiant One, and welcome to The Spiritual Business with Maria Saraphina, the show and podcast for soul-driven, heart-based spiritual entrepreneurs and Magdalens rising, ready to grow and expand from within, and wanting to lead with love in business and life. I am your host, spiritual business coach, mentor, catalyst, and facilitator, Maria Saraphina, and it is my deep honor, my great pleasure, and joy to share this episode with you. If you feel the deep stirrings of something new asking to be born through you, go to mariasarafina.com/DCIA to download the free guide, Divine Clarity and Inspired Action that I have created for you. Divine Clarity and Inspired Action will help you connect deeply with your divine feminine essence of gnosis, wisdom, knowledge, and intuition, as well as activate your divine masculine essence of action, creation, expansion, foundation, and building, so that you may experience the satisfaction and the liberation that comes from living your truth, from bringing to life that which you're here to birth, while being, doing, and living your soul's divine purpose. On my website, you will also find show notes, transcripts, and previous episodes. Also, if you're a Magdalene rising or have been called by the Magdalene, you may want to check out my other show and podcast, The Magdalene Voices, where I share sacred conversations with beautiful, illuminating souls, as well as insightful inspiration to nourish every cell of your body, every fiber of your being, every aspect of your soul and existence through lifetimes past, present, and future. You can go to my website, mariasarafina.com, for links to everywhere it's being broadcasted. Finally, as always, I encourage you to listen with an open heart and an open mind, and take only what serves you and leave the rest. I am not your guru, nor am I your teacher. Instead, let me serve you as your guide, your catalyst, and facilitator, so that which you're here to birth might find its expression in the world the only way that it can. Through you. Here is today's episode. Hello, Radio One, and a very big and a very warm welcome into today's episode, in which we're going to be talking about, or I'm going to be sharing about, a subject or a topic that is very tender and powerful at the same time, which really truly is one of the things I love about having a soul-driven, heart-based spiritual business, is how we are flexible and how it can be both soft and tender and powerful and transformational and strong. And it's not either or, but it is a both and. And today's topic I have named Having the Courage to Fail. And this is based both of my, as all of these episodes literally are, it's based both on my personal experience as well as what I see in my work with clients. And one of the things that I've noticed more and more over the past year-ish or two-ish years or so is that it doesn't really matter whether you are at the beginning of your journey, whether you are already a seasoned spiritual entrepreneur, or whether you are a veteran and have been in the game for a very long time with a thriving, successful business. These are things that for some reason keep reappearing. And I think it is, as I say that, I see it as, there's never any birth or rebirth without the breaking out of your current situation, whether it be, if you look to nature, if it's an acorn, there is a shell that's protecting that. There's a protective shell. If it's a baby, there's the embryonic sac there that it's breaking out of. If it is a flower, there's that thing that's around it, which I don't know the word for, but when it blooms. For a butterfly, it's the cocoon. For a bird, it's the shell. So there's always the breaking through of the current confines. And And that very often is connected with some sort of struggle, but a struggle that is driven by the knowing that life is on the other side, that love is the driver for that. And I hope that you see that. And so, as I'm sharing about this, having the courage to fail, I invite you to look at it through your lens and to listen for how you can choose to use this in your business and in your life. So many years ago now, I had someone who we were talking about failure. And to me, failure is only a failure if you choose not to harvest the lessons of it. And to me, failure is connected with a tremendous amount of courage, because if you have the opportunity or the possibility or the experience of failure, that means that you have also had the courage to reach that point. It means that there is something that you have wanted to be different. Another way that you have wanted to show up, if you're looking at it from a business perspective, there are services or offerings, podcast shows, PDFs, graphic designs, paintings. There's a plethora of ways that expression for you is showing up in your world, and you, quote unquote, feeling with that has meant that you have taken all of the steps to putting it out into the world, that you have shown up, that you have had the courage to show up for yourself, for your truth, for who you are, for who you're here to serve in a way. And maybe that has not been met by the world in the way that you would have hoped for, or the way that you had desired, or the way that you had foreseen, or the way that you had been told, or any of those way. However, as I said, to me, and this was a discussion that I had with a dear friend, and I take it fully upon me that I may not be simply able to recognize where I have failed, which I do not feel. I do recognize that there are areas in my life where I have, quote unquote, failed. However, the only reason why I do not necessarily consider them like failures in the way that they're dragging me down is because with every, quote unquote, failure that I have had, I have chosen to harvest the lessons. And the lessons that have been hiding within those, again, quote unquote, failures has been instrumental in propelling me forward. And so choosing, and again, to me, this is a way that, like, how you choose to look at the way that you work and the way that you serve in the world, is that if you're choosing to come from a place of love in my world, that means that you will then, like I said, you will harvest the lessons. You will ask yourself, what could I have done differently? You will choose not to have your apparent failure drag you down into the mud and be like, oh, like you don't go into a depressed state, but you are choosing to see it from a different perspective. That is not, to me, it's not meant to be a spiritually bypassing. You're not meant to like ignore or disregard like whatever has gone on. You have to look at it. You have to be willing to kind of delve into it and see what happened and what you could have done differently. And on top of that, this is the extra bonus when you're super advanced, just kidding, is that then also choosing not to hit yourself on the head with what you find. So let's say that you have done a launch of some sort you've done a launch of some sort, and the people that you had wanted to show up or wanted to sign up have not signed up. And you go through that and you discover that, you had apparently sent an email with the same headline twice, which I've done. Forgetting to change you've changed the content of the email, but you've not changed the headline of the email. And so you have a plethora of people leaving your list because they're upset about receiving, which I totally get. And I did that. And I've done that. And so, but I was going to sing, but you probably know which song I was going to sing. But I chose not to hit myself in the head with it, and just remind myself to be more careful next time. Use it as a reminder of, I have to, when I'm in that process, I have to make sure that I'm actually checking the headlines for these emails more. And that's where, that's what I call love with love, which I've probably mentioned before is a very, very, exquisite concept that I have, because I've never found another word for it. I've never found like a brilliant, magnificent word for it. It's literally love with love. It's where you have chosen to come from a space of love. You've had something fall or fail to your within you, that's how you view it. So, and then you choose to say, okay, I'm going to look at this from a space of love. And then that's the first step of love. And then when you add the love, the extra layer of love is when you then also choose to not have that, kick yourself in the head with it. Oh, I should have done that. And you go over and you go I should have not, I should have, no, I should have, that's where, when you abandon the kicking yourself in the head and laying on the floor and screaming at the gods, why didn't you warn me about that? When you choose to own it, okay, I made a mistake. I am going to do better next time. I'm going to do it differently next time. That's when you use like I said, the very exquisite, the very fancy concept of love with love. And one of the things that I've also noticed in terms of having the courage to fail is that as you grow your business, and as you've grown your business, maybe you have thousands of followers on your news or on your social media. Maybe you have loads of people commenting and liking and sharing. Maybe you have thousands of people on your newsletter list, and your heart is calling you to do something that may seem different from what you've done in the past with your services and your offerings. Then the stakes may seem higher. You may feel like you have a larger obligation to show up for those people. And I'm here to tell you that you don't. I'm here to tell you that you are not obligated in any way, shape, or form to put out anything that is not of your heart, that is not of love, because ultimately that will not serve you, and it will not serve those that you're here to serve. What will serve them is that you share your truth, is that you follow those nudges, those callings, the things that you hear within, even when it's moving into a maybe slightly different area. And chances are, because when you work with your people, when you serve your people, what happens is that there's an elevation. So you, through your offerings, you are elevating those that you're here to serve, and they are elevated with you. And so as you expand in love, as you discover that there are more things that you want to share in the world, that you're not just, happy with what you have, and you want to continue sharing the love and the impressions you get and the notions that you have, and the more that comes up for you, the people will be ready for it, because you've literally cultivated that ground for them. And so not sharing it will be a disservice to them. And so I understand that, and I see this with my clients who have large followings, is that the stakes may seem higher, But ultimately, it's still the same root cause. It's still, will I show up truthfully as who I am in truth, in love, in service? Or will I allow fear to drive me and my business? And if you're here, I am betting that the answer to that question is hell no. Because that's not what we do, right? We follow that love even when it makes no sense at all, even when we know that jumping off of this cliff, we have no reassurance that we're going to be able to fly, even when we also know that, even with experience, even when we have the experience of having leapt off of the cliff and we have stumbled, we've fallen, and then we've taken flight, it's still scary. It still shows up as something that seems, or can show up as something that seems scary, and at the same time thrilling and exciting and brilliant. And ultimately, doing that is what I see as having the courage to fail. I guess I'm also mentioning it because I want to take out the, what do we call it? I want to take out the stigma, I suppose, around failure. That somehow, like, you wake up out of bed in the morning and then you're just like a success from the get-go. And I just like success by whose standards? That somehow you get it right the first time. Like, and this has been one of my pet peeves for like since I started my business. That is the notion that like overnight success and it just happens like that. If you look at those people who have quote unquote overnight success, usually there are years and years and years and years of trial and error. There are years and years and hard work and dedication and commitment, and having been driven by that force within you, that drive, that compassion, that passion, that love that is within you. And that is not to say that in order for you to have a successful spiritual business, you need to, I don't want to say work hard, because like I do believe in discipline. I do believe in working for what you're committed to. It doesn't have to be hard, nor does it necessarily have to be easy. I think that there in both of those polarities lies truth, and I think that there lies lessons, and so it's not either or, it's both and. There are a plethora of quotes that says, like, I think one of them is the Thomas Edison one, where he said, like, to invent the light bulb, he had 10,000 failures in order to do that. Like, so that was his way to doing that. And as far as I've understood, he was actually also not necessarily the first one. I know that he's the one that's being touted for it, and don't take me for it because I haven't researched it, so maybe I shouldn't even have brought it up. But I do believe that there was a couple of African-American brothers who did something with light bulbs or electricity before him. Just saying. I will probably have to research that now. So I understand that the stakes might... the stakes, if you're someone who's an experienced or seasoned vet, the stakes may seem higher, but ultimately what my invitation for you is to really narrow it into what is the core of it. And usually it is the fear of failure. And so if you can flip your fear of failure into understanding how I'm going to have the courage to fail, like I'm going to be putting my everything into this. I'm going to be showing up. I'm going to be sharing. I'm going to be creating. I'm going to be blending, weaving the worlds, creating this magnificent whatever it is that's coming through you, and bring it to the world. That means you have courage. You have the courage to fail. And I would love to hear from you. What is your biggest insight that you have gained through watching or listening to this episode? There is a link in the show notes and you can find it on the blog and you can come over. Also, I want to say, if you want to be held and supported in a powerful sacred space as you walk your path with the courage to fail, you're more than welcome to apply for a free discovery session at mariasarafina.com/apply so that we can see if you and I are meant to work together and whether or not I am meant to support you. That is what I had for you today. I love you. Take care. That is what I had for you in today's episode of Spiritual Business with Maria Saraphina. I hope it served you well. For all the deeds and details, click the link in the description, and if you enjoyed this episode, support its message by sharing it with a friend or on social media. You can also choose to leave me a comment or a review. I love you. God bless.